Hi there, welcome to this third short video on exam success. Remember, as you are running through the questions in your exam, remember, read the question, read the answer. It will surprise you how many times you are able to select the correct answer by just going through that simple process of reading the questions and answers. If you know the answer, answer it and move on. Okay. Failing that, look at the keywords in the questions and the answers to find your answer route. Using your index, using your contents pages, whoever it is that you work, and find or hopefully find the answer. Okay, if you've used up your 2 minutes and you have yet to find an answer the question to the best of your ability. Flag it and write the number down in the back of your login sheet. Okay. Remember, it's all about making sure that you are not wasting any more than 2 minutes a question. If you waste any more than 2 minutes a question, then you might find yourself behind the 8 ball at the end of the exam. So you need to try and get that time in your pocket for the end of the exam to run back through the questions that you struggled with. So we're going to look at questions 21 through 30 on our sample paper 1. Okay, remember, pause the video as we are running through so that you can then go and utilise the index and try and find the answer yourself as we go, okay, before I give you the complete answer. So, question 21, the phrase an overcurrent occurring in a circuit which is electrically sound describes which of the following, and then we've got short circuit current, earth fault current, an overcurrent, and then we've got an overload current. So it says an overcurrent occurring in a circuit which is electrically sound. So there's the general overcurrent term. We then have these other two terms here, which we've got a short circuit current. That's a fault of negligible impedance between live conductors. Then we have an earth fault current, which is a fault of negligible impedance between live conductors and earth. Okay, so if you know anything about electrical testing, these should be pretty clear in your head as to what these are. And it's telling you here it's electrically sound. Okay, so for me, straight off the bat, I would be going straight to overload current. But failing that, what we'll do is we will utilise the alphabetical order of these answers. We'll go and look at earth fault current before we look at overcurrent, overload current, and short circuit current. Okay, to find the definitions for them. So we'll get into definitions and we'll have a look through the definitions. So in definitions, when we get to overload current, it tells you there an overcurrent occurring in a circuit which is electrically sound, and that would be our answer. Question 22, the formula IB is less than or equal to IN, which is less than or equal to IZ. The IN stands for which of the following? So we've got the design current of the circuit, the current ensuring the effective operation of the protective device, the nominal current of the protective device, or the current carrying capacity of the conductor. So we're looking for this IN. So at which point we want to look at symbols within part 2, at the end of part 2, at the front of the book. So in symbols, we'll run down, look at IN. When we get to IN, you'll see that it says it's the rated current or current setting of a protective device in amperes, and we find it in table 41.3. Okay, so it doesn't actually say the words nominal value, but a rating is its nominal value. Okay, so for example, that's that 6 ampere. A B6 MCB, so its nominal value would be 6 amperes. All right. In the formula, I2 is less than or equal to 1.45 times IZ. I2 stands for which of the following? And again, we're going into our symbols, and we're going to have a run down and find I2 and find out which one of these I2 gives us. So I2 is the current causing the effective operation of the overload protective device in amperes again. Okay, so current ensuring effective operation of the protective device. That's the one there that we're looking for. Okay, so it's not the design current, it's not the nominal current, it's not the current carrying capacity, it's the one that ensures the effective operation of the protective device. Okay. Question 24. Where protection for overload is being provided by a BS3036 fuse, the correction factor that may need to be applied when calculating the required current carrying capacity of a conductor is which of the following? So we have a BS3036 fuse. We're looking for rating factors, okay, for the current carrying capacity. All right. So in the index, a couple of options we have in the index. We could go to correction factors, which then takes us to rating factors, and it tells us to go and look at Appendix 4, or we could go and look at semi-enclosed fuses, which tells us to go and look at fuses, and then at which point when we look at fuses, if we run down fuses and get to semi-enclosed fuses, you'll see there's a clearer regulation or clearer answer route, 4331202 there, overload protection by, or 533123. Or if we look at the symbol CF, which is the only rating correction factor for fuses, which is for a semi-enclosed fuse, it tells us to go and look at Appendix 4, Section 3. So if we look at Appendix 4, Section 3 first, you'll see that it just gives us the different current values or the current symbols that we use and cable sizing and the correction factors there as well. If you then skim through from part 3 into part 4 there, you'll see in part 4 for overload protection, we've got our BS3036 fuse and we've got our rating factor of 0.725 there, okay? Whereas if we went down the more specific regulation route, 4331202, you'll see there in 4331202, it says if we've got a semi-enclosed fuse, the rating factor that we use is 0.725 times the current carrying capacity of the lowest rated conductor in the circuit protected. Okay, so there's a couple of ways in which we can find that answer. Question 25. Which of the following is the required rated impulse voltage for overvoltage category 2 equipment that sits at a nominal voltage of 230 volts? Okay. So for this one here, I'm going to get into my index and I'm going to look at impulse voltage and rating. Okay. That then takes us to table 443.2, and this here's a copy of 443.2. So category 2 at 230 volts gives us 2,500 volts as our rating. Okay, so that would be that answer B there. Okay. Question 26. Which of the, following the restoration of supply after a power failure, and where the reclosure of protective device is likely to cause a danger, the reclosure should be which of the following? Okay, now for this one here, a power failure, what we're actually talking about there is an under voltage or a no voltage situation. Okay, so under voltage is our answer route for this one. Okay. So when we get into the index, under voltage assessment of, it takes us to 331.1 or section 445. Okay, if you look at 331.1, it just gives us the list, and then section 445, it says where the, if you look in that there at 44515, it says at the bottom of the page there, it says where the reclosure of a protective device is likely to cause danger, the reclosure shall not be automatic. Okay. Question 27. Where the consequences caused by overvoltage could result in serious injury to or loss of human life, or significant financial data loss, and then it gives us a list of options. So it says no additional protection is required to be fitted. Such protective devices are required to be fitted. Under voltage devices are required to be fitted, and residual current devices are required to be fitted. So in the question, we're looking at over voltage. Yeah. Okay. So straight away, answer C is out the window because that's talking about under voltage, and answer D is talking about residual current devices. Yeah, so these two answers straight away are, we can get rid of them. The only two that we're interested in is either we don't need to fit additional protection, or we need to fit surge protection devices. Okay, so there is a consequence, a loss of human life, a serious injury, loss of human life, or significant financial data loss. I know where I'm leaning towards. So we're going to look at overvoltage. So if we get into our index and we look at overvoltage, you'll see there we've got atmospheric protection against atmospheric origin or due to switching. It takes us to section 443. Okay, so when we get into section 443, it says there 443.4 overvoltage control, transient overvoltage due to indirect lightning strikes. Protection against transient overvoltage shall be provided where the consequence caused by overvoltage could result in serious injury to or loss of human life or failure of a safety service as defined in part 2. That is actually now gone. That's been deleted in the corrigendum. And then we've got significant financial or data loss. So how do we protect against transient overvoltages? Well, if you look to the page to the left-hand side, one of the options it gives you is the fitting of surge protection devices. And in fact, if you look up at your index there, you'll see there the devices we could use. One of the devices we could use is surge protection devices. Okay. Question 28. Which of the following single colours must not be used to identify protective conductors? So we're looking at the identification of conductors. Looking at the answers, we've got green, black, yellow and blue. So if we get into conductors in the index and then scroll down to where it talks about identification, you'll see that it takes us to section 514. Okay, and in 51444 for other conductors tells us that other conductors are going to be identified in accordance with table 51.1, and then 51445, the next one there, talks about the single colour green not be used for identification, and one of the cables there is protective conductors. Okay, so that's our answer. Question 29. Which of the following describes the harmful effects of an electrical installation on the non-electrical installation? So between two different systems. So electromagnetic compatibility, mutual detrimental influence, external influence, or maintainability. Well, maintainability is just, we can take that straight off the table. That's about the maintenance of the actual electrical installation. And external influence, possibly. Electromagnetic compatibility, that's usually between two electrical installations. So we're kind of looking at these two here. I know where I am leaning towards. Yeah, I'm leaning towards mutual detrimental influence. So what we can do is we can take a wee search in the index, a couple of different options that we can look at. You could look at mutual detrimental influence, you could look at prevention of mutual detrimental influence, or influence, mutual detrimental and prevention. All of those tells you go and look in section 515. And if you look in section 515, it says there, electrical equipment shall be selected and erected so as to avoid any harmful influence between the electrical installation and any non-electrical installations envisaged. Okay. Then we have question 30. Table in BS 7671 that provides acceptable methods of installation in relation to conductors and cables is entitled which of the following? So you get a couple of options here. You could run through each part of the book looking at each one of these tables, or you could go to my favourite wee part of the book, which is the table of tables just before the index. And in the table of tables, we can then have a scan through these different tables to identify which one talks about installation methods in relation to conductors and cables. And you'll see there that's table 4A1. Okay, so hopefully that's a nice wee easy one to finish up on. Now, remember, if you're running into any difficulty, you know how to get in contact with me. Remember, just drop me a message and I'll hopefully get back to you as soon as I can. Hopefully you're finding these a little